Good morning, grade 12. Hope all of you are fine and safe. Today we'll continue our class with a new chapter, chapter 11, genetic variation within population. Actually, it is the same concept like the natural selection and evolution that we took before. But in this chapter, we will go further deeper. We will not talk about only the phenotypes that you can see that the mouses here have different colors, but we will talk about their genes, their genotype. That's why we have to go back to some basics for genetics before we proceed in our lesson. This introduction, you don't have to memorize it. I want you only to understand it so you can understand what's going on later on. These are the learning objectives we are going to cover. We will recall some basics of genetics, identify how the genetic variation in gene pool of a population increase the survival rates, calculate the alleles frequencies in a population gene pool, list down some sources of genetic variations in a population. I think learning objective 4 we will postpone it to the next lesson. This chapter, you'll find that it's interdisciplinary between different branches of biology, genetics, ecology, evolution, natural selection. I think the information is fresh on this part. Genetic, that's why we will revise some concepts, and ecology, that we took the first term, species, population, species, talala, population, gene pool distribution. This gene pool distribution, okay? Let's proceed. Here, the first thing in genetics, I want you to remember it, that the human, as an example of animals, has 23 pairs of chromosomes. Those pairs of chromosomes are called homologous chromosomes. Okay, so humans have 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes, from 1 to 23, either XX or XY in the chromosome 23, not both of them, sure, one of them. It identifies the sex of the organism or the human. Here I want you to note that the chromosomes are arranged in pairs. Why in pairs? Because if we see here the fertilization process, when a sperm fertilizes an ova, it gives the zygote, which later on this keep dividing, giving the whole human. Here the sperm give half the number of chromosomes, which is 23, and the ova give 23. So 23 and 23, 23 giving 23 pairs, 46 chromosomes in total. So if you go back here to this chart, which is called karyotype, it shows the human chromosomes, the homologous chromosomes. You'll find that it's in pairs, one from the father and one from the mother, one from father and one from the mother, and so on. Okay, this pair is called homologous chromosome. Okay, here I want you to know that these homologous chromosomes carry something called alleles. What alleles? Let's say that we're gonna talk about one phenotype, a trait, a characteristic you can see by your eyes, which is the eye color. This gene have different alleles, have different versions. Let's say for the eye color, we have a brown version and we have a blue version. Okay, one is inherited from the father and one is inherited from the mother. Which one will express itself? Which one will be dominant on the other? Which one will be dominant and which one will be recessive? It will not express itself. This is called alleles. Brown eye, brown color, and blue color, those are alleles for the eye color gene. Okay, different versions for a gene. These alleles. And let's see here. Here, if we will take the eye color only, we have blue and brown. Okay, when I say blue, brown, or brown, this is called phenotype. Phenotype, it is the trait that you can see by your eye. This trait is coded by genes. These genes, how its versions of alleles, how its allele is carried by the chromosomes, this is called genotype. So that's why they are writing the alleles in pairs. If you can notice here, the genotypes are in pairs, either small b, capital B, capital B, capital B, small b. Because as we said back here, one carried by mother and one carried by father. Okay. Actually, according to the nature of allele, is it recessive or dominant? This will affect or influence the phenotype that will appear later on. And if we say that the brown eye is dominant on the blue eye, so for the brown eye to appear, at least one of the two alleles have to be capital B, dominant. Capital B, small b, so here it will be brown. Capital B, dominant, brown. Small b, recessive, blue. So if the dominant, the capital allele exists in any case, it have to express itself. The only way for the blue eye to be expressed that it will be both of them recessive, both of them lowercase or small letters. Okay? Also, I want you to know how the genes code for a trait or a phenotype. يعني here, if we take the brown eye as the allele, the chromosome and the DNA is the same thing. The only thing between them is how tightly they are coiled. The DNA is 3 meters long in a one cell, and the human body have 37 trillion cells. You can imagine 37 trillion cells multiplied by 3, how long it would be. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arranged it or organized it in a way that this DNA is super coiled to form this chromosome. Okay, so the chromosome and DNA, they are the same thing. Only how they are coiled giving this version, or it's uncoiled giving this. The gene is a part of this DNA. When this gene is encoded, the code carried by this gene is translated, giving a protein. This protein give a trait. This trait can be something we can see it by our eye, which is the eye color, skin color, hair color, or it can be an enzyme, an hormone, doing or carrying out a certain function inside our body. So any function, any trait carried in our body is carried by a protein. This protein is coded by a gene. Okay? Till now, all this is the introduction I want you to know. If you need more information, please Google this information, or you can ask for a link I can send to you to understand these basics. Here, let's revise quickly the ecology part. Species, when we said species, group of organisms similar that they can produce fertile offspring. Yeah, that's mean what? That the individuals in a one population, to say that they are belong to one species, they have to breed or mate each other, giving a fertile offspring. We can say that, like we said before, that we can make hybridization and make two kinds of dogs mate to get a hybrid version. But not in all cases this offspring or this baby is fertile, yani being able to give more babies later on and mating. If this happens, so they are not belong to one species. If they can reproduce and give a fertile offspring that can successfully reproduce later on, so they are belong to one species. Next, population. Population, a group of same species living in an area where two individuals are exactly alike due to variation that have led the fittest individual to survive and pass on these traits. Allele, as we said, an allele are alternative forms of a gene, different versions of a gene. Organisms typically have two alleles for a single trait. Trait, brown eye, have two alleles, brown and yellow eye, one being inherited from each parent. Now we will know this too, how to calculate this and know this expression, something called allele frequency. Allele frequency, measure of how common an allele in a population. In other words, in this photo you can easily here, you can easily count how many tan mice sit there and how many gray mice sit there, right? But what we will do now, that you have to know here, if you can see, he translated the phenotypes to genotypes. We will know now how to calculate the allele frequency. How many green allele do I have here? How many brown allele do I have here? This is called allele frequency, measure of how common an allele is in a population. Gene pool, all the combination of alleles of all species in a population. And if you see here, the combination of all these alleles, which is capital G, small g, capital G, small g, these are different combination of alleles, right? The combination of the group of combination of all those alleles is called gene pool. Gene pool. Okay? We will go back to natural selection, but we took and understood it before. Let's say here that we have an elephant with short trunk and medium and long length trunk. Okay, and this was the environment at the beginning. It have short trees, medium size and long trees. In this case, all of them have the ability to eat their food, or their, let's say, their niches are different, and they are not compete with each other, and the resources, the nutrition resources is available. For a reason, these short trees doesn't exist anymore. In this case, the elephant with short trunk cannot will compete with the medium size if it can reach it, but it never will reach the long trees. These short trunk elephants, it have no more than two options. Either it will compete with the medium size and it will be not that fit because they are familiar with this, and their trunk give them the advantage to be more fit and survive by eating the medium-sized trees, or they simply will leave or immigrate this population or extinct. Okay, so by a long period of time, the composition of the population will change. At the beginning, they have the three variations: short trunk, medium trunk, long trunk. Then at the end, after a long period of time, according to the changes in the environment, the composition of the population changed. No short trunk more. The point here, all this what I have said, we know it before. What I want to add here, the genetic variation in a population or in a gene pool increase the survival rate. Let's imagine, what's the genetic variation before I proceed? Genetic variation, it is the variation in the population. Yani here short trunk, medium and long. If we take it on a genes level, so if we say here it's, let's say about I'll give a letter for the trunk, T. So the short one will be small t, capital T, small t, and capital T, for example. This variations in the phenotypes, in traits, and this variation in the genes, genetic variation, increase the survival rate for the whole population. Let's imagine that all the population have a short trunk, and all of them are familiar with eating the short trees. And these short trees does not exist anymore. All of them will extinct. Or all of them will immigrate this habitat. Right? But because there is a variation here, there is medium and short, their survival rate for the whole population increase, because here there is a great chance for the medium and the long trunk elephants to be fit to this environment and survive. Okay? So that's why the genetic variation in a gene pool of a population increases the survival rate. Okay? Here are here are some expression that I used to be a reference for you. Here I want to focus on this. The greater the variation in a phenotype and genotype, the more likely that some individuals can survive in a changing environment. Okay. Let's see here. Here are allele frequencies. Here is a gene pool of a population. This is a population of a frog. They have different phenotypes, green and brown. Okay, it seems here that the brown is recessive, small g, and the green is dominant, capital G, capital G. So this one, which is capital G, small g, it will be green. Green is dominant on the brown. Green, G, capital G, capital G, capital G, green, small g, brown, and so on. Okay, if we hide these alleles, so we can see only the variations in the population, in the phenotypes. But if you have here the alleles, so we can talk about the genetic variation here. The different combination of alleles in a population, this is the gene pool. Right. Here we have to know how to calculate the allele frequency. Allele frequency measure how common allele in a population, how common the capital G is in this population, how common the small g is in this population. This allele frequency can be calculated for each allele in a gene pool. But let's count it, just counting and division. Let's see how we can do it. G codes for the green, small g codes for the brown. Here, how many capital G do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 capital G's in this gene pool. And how many small g's here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 small g's. So if you want to count the frequency of the capital G, the total of the alleles in this gene pool, the total alleles for skin color trait in a gene pool, the 7 genes plus 5, 12. So if you want to calculate the capital G frequency of allele capital G equal 7 over 12, the total. 7 over 12, 12 is the total, equal 0.583, which is 58 if we multiply it by 100 to get the percentage, 58.3 percentage. Okay, small g the same way, 5 divided by the total equal 0.417 times 141.7%. Okay, but let's do more practicing for this. Here that one, I will try to write with you. Okay, inshallah I can. Here we want to calculate the frequency for the capital frequency for the capital W, which is for the from here I can guess that the capital W is for the purple flower and the small w is for the white flower because it seems to be less in number, so I think it's the recessive. And the capital allele, the dominant allele, which is the capital W, is for the purple one. So let's count or calculate the frequency of the capital, the dominant allele, which is the capital W. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's 13 over the total. The total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You will calculate it and get the percentage. Same frequency for the recessive allele, which is the small w. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 over 18. To be sure 5 plus 13 will give me the total, which is 18, so I am right. Give the calculations and give the percentage. Okay, here I want to show you. Okay, finish drawing. here the whole calculation is written for you. Here the genotype frequency. When I say genotype, for all the alleles, here he classified like homozygous dominant, which is homo, same, W, capital W, capital W, and here capital W, small w, and small w, small w. He count the frequencies here. Okay, and here for the genotypes, and here for the frequency for the phenotype, only purple and white, and here for the allele frequency. And that's it. The next slides we will postpone it to the next class, as I said before. Please, you will find on your class an assignment. Do it and submit it at Tuesday. It's your deadline. After it, you will lose marks, so please submit it on time. Please, any questions, don't hesitate to write it on the Google Classroom. We are available, all the teachers, from 8 to 1. See you next class, inshallah. Thank you for your time.